Wow. I'm here with Jake Wood, very talented young artist.
Wow.
I'd like to ask you a few questions if that's alright. So what themes do you find repeat in your work?
Well, I work a lot. Obviously, I'm an artist that predominantly works in performance, using my own physicality in my art practice and using my body for capacity for action. I like to use humour in my practice, and I like the idea of sort of performing in public domain locations such as the gym, streets and open public spaces. I'm really interested in sort of debunking kind of, I guess, ideas around exercise and fitness, and thinking about maybe perhaps where art sits beyond the institution. So that's why obviously I perform in the public domain a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sort of also really interested in this idea of being an intruder for practice.
Wow.
So what I mean by that is I'm really interested in sort of intruding into different kind of zones and environments. So, you know, what is it to kind of like have, you know, one foot in one camp, one in the other, and how that can be then documented.
And what's the relevance of the gym environment? Is there a commentary there on masculinity? Or?
Yeah, I think so in relation to mass, because I competed in a bodybuilding show myself ages ago. Seems like I love another life now.
Yeah, I remember.
But, yeah, I'm interested in this idea of you know, the gym and also action and repetition perhaps as well could be one I'm perhaps interested in. And yeah, this idea of masculinity and sort of playing on ideas of thinking about, you know, how the gym maybe could become an artwork, perhaps, or an exercise video could become an artwork.
Definitely.
It could be very expressive, very flamboyant.
So what kind of starts off the making process for you?
I have to have something really strong in my head, and then I have to sort of kind of visualise what I perform, sort of, because I work in performance predominantly, I have to visualise it in my head, and I just sort of have to, I just kind of go for it really. I mean, also I like this idea of sort of being slightly thinking about testing the tolerance level, especially in the public domain, and thinking about ideas around maybe being slightly transgressive as well, but finding ways to bend boundaries around that. And I guess if the opportunity is there to do something, just do it.
Yeah, so you do it quite intuitively, you just go with it.
Go with it,
Yeah, brilliant. So any artists or film or literature references that really influence you?
Probably one of the most, my favourite artist is probably, I guess more of a kind of going back to the source, is Bruce Nauman. Fantastic performance artist.
We love.
Yes, he's fantastic. Doing his performances in the 60s were amazing when he was in his studio, sort of, you know, he's making sculpture with the most limited amount of, I guess, resources around, other than his sort of artist body, if you like.
Yeah.
And there's a really good quote by Dan Graham's text Subject Matter, where he talks about Nauman being both artist and material, which is such a beautiful quote, and I think that just is a very precise way of summing Nauman up.
Yeah, brilliant. And you definitely use, you know, the materials around you, clearly,
Yeah,
working
definitely.
with cardboard and kind of...
Without materials to create this kind of like functional kind of gym equipment as well, as like emulating gym equipment perhaps,
Yeah.
something I'm interested in as well, and thinking about functionality is quite an interesting thing as well, actually, because, you know, there's kind of this sort of ambiguous thing about if you look at something that's kind of made very quick or cheaply, you know, is it functional, is it not?
Yeah, is it going to break?
Is it going to break? Yeah, you know, is it, you know, temporary, is it a collapsible object, but it still has this kind of functionality to be attached to the body or something. Or to sort of,
Do you consider aesthetic with that, with your sort of sculptures and machines?
Well, I'm kind of interested in sort of the non-aesthetic, if you like.
Brilliant, yeah.
So I like this idea of doing things
Very
like this.
anarchic.
Yeah, just kind of the wrong way, you know, not really being too precious about things. You know, I sort of like to use these almost like these structures I'm making, you know, at the moment are kind of almost like props really for a performance.
Yeah.
And like repetition and Bruce Nauman too.
Yeah.
That's like he's strong in that, so you can see the inspiration there, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And obviously you're creating in a very different environment in 2021 than the 60s.
Yeah, yeah.
So would you say the pandemic has affected your practice kind of in any positive ways?
I think it does. I think it definitely has affected it in a positive way, of course, because I think the most important thing about being a good artist, in my opinion, is problem solving.
Exactly
and, you know,
that.
if things come about or sort of barriers, you know, you've got to find ways to work around it or embrace them. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly
Sometimes you've got
that.
to embrace change.
Embracing them, that's very refreshing.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. How is material important to you at all?
I think material is in a way important, but I love using stuff around me, you know, sort of it goes back to this idea of, you know, using the everyday, perhaps like Fishley and Vice, for example, or Richard Wentworth's photographs. But yeah, I think, you know, using stuff that I kind of get excited about in relation to materiality, it's quite important.
Brilliant.
And where can we find you? If you've got like socials or an Instagram.
I do have a website, Jake Wood Artist.
Brilliant.
.uk, and I'm also Jake Wood Artist on Instagram.
Brilliant. Watch the space. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.